The breath between waves. The sea was quieter than it should be after a storm that violent. Ondine floated just below the surface, letting the last curls of foam stroke her cheeks. The sky was a bruised watercolor of mauve and gold, the sun trying to peer through as though ashamed of what it had let happen. Waves lapped at the stone teeth of the cove. A single gull cried in the distance, one of the few who survived the night. She took a breath she did not need, filling her lungs out of habit rather than necessity. The air tasted like loss. Storms always took something. And storms always gave something back. Today, they gave her him. His body lay half buried in the wet sand, limbs slack, hair plastered to his forehead. The tide pushed up around him, as though trying to pull him back, whispering, "I found him first." But Ondine found him before the tide. She dragged him here, hands shaking with effort, her tail aching with the strain. Humans were heavier than they looked. And this one, with his broad shoulders and sailor's arms, was heavier still. He was not breathing. And she should let him die. Every drop of water in her blood knew that. Every whisper in her bones. Every law ever written in salt or sung by the elders. Merfolk do not interfere with the fate of humans. They do not pull them from storms. They do not touch them. They certainly do not breathe life back into their fragile lungs. Mermaids were meant to observe, not change. Yet here she was, kneeling beside him in the sand, her hair dripping onto his still chest. The storm gave him to her. And now she had to decide what to do with him. His name she did not know yet. But she knew the face of someone who did not deserve to die. She brushed a strand of seaweed from his cheek. His skin was cool, but not gone. His lips were pale, but not blue. His pulse, when she touched the spot beneath his jaw, was faint, but there. A fragile drumbeat. A plea. "Please don't leave me here. I should let the tide take you," she whispered, voice trembling. "It would be safer. For both of us." She looked up, half expecting the Sea Queen herself to rise from the depths and drag her under for even thinking otherwise. But the water was still. Watching. Waiting. The ocean remembered everything, but it did not judge. That was left to them. His chest rose, barely, and fell again, shallow and slow. "Please," she whispered, though she did not know who she was asking. Him, or herself. The elders always warned them, the moment you save a human, you bind your life to theirs. You take on their fate. Their pain. Their choices. You risk losing your song, your tale, your freedom. But as she hovered over him, hearing the faint, broken sound of a breath that was not enough, she was not thinking about laws or consequences. She was thinking about the way his hand twitched in hers when she pulled him from the storm. As if some part of him recognized that she could help. She leaned closer, her hair curtaining them from the world. "Do you want to live?" she whispered. His lips parted, just barely. Not a yes. Not a no. Just a question left unanswered. But unanswered was enough. She placed her hands on his chest, closed her eyes, and broke the oldest rule ever written. Their kind called it soul breathing. Humans would simply call it giving breath. Ondine inhaled deeply, drawing in the sea, the sky, the storm's remnants. And then she gave it all to him. Warmth poured from her like light, like fire through water. It burned her throat as it left, burned her palms as it flowed. It was more of herself than she had ever given away. His body arched beneath the force. A shudder tore through him. A cough broke from his mouth, spraying seawater across the sand. His eyes snapped open, blue, storm-bright, bewildered. Alive. He was alive. And she had doomed herself. His first breath was ragged, painful. His second was steadier. His third was the kind of breath that belonged to someone who was not dying anymore. He rolled onto his side, coughing violently, water spilling from his lips. When the fit ended, he collapsed back into the sand, panting. Ondine retreated a few inches but not far. Her tail would give her away if he suddenly sat up. Humans feared what they did not understand, and they understood very little. He blinked slowly, wiping at his eyes. Or where? His voice cracked like driftwood. You're safe, she said softly. His head jerked at the sound of her voice. His eyes struggled to focus. Who's there? A friend, she said. She did not know if that was true. But it felt true enough. He tried to lift himself onto his elbows but winced sharply and collapsed again. His breathing was too fast, his muscles trembling. No, she said. Don't move yet. You're hurt. He frowned faintly. I remember, the storm. His hand reached for his forehead. Lightning hit the mast. Everything went dark. You were thrown overboard. She took a breath. You would have drowned. He turned his head toward the sound of her voice, expression clouded. Did you save me? Yes. Something like wonder flickered across his face. Thank you. The word should comfort her. Instead, they frightened her. Because they were binding. And so was she. She stayed behind him as long as she could, keeping her tail submerged in the shallow surf. But eventually he turned enough to catch a glimpse of her. His eyes widened. For a moment, she panicked and pulled back, but he did not scream or scramble away. He just stared, his expression caught between awe and disbelief. His voice faded. Ondine lowered herself slightly, letting the water hide the shimmering length of her tail. My name is Ondine. He wet his lips. I'm Finn. Finn. The name fit him, short and strong and shaped like something the sea might whisper. Are you afraid? She asked quietly. He looked at her a long moment. His gaze lingered on her eyes, her hair, the faint glow of the scales on her shoulders. No, he shook his head weakly. Should I be? Ondine blinked, taken aback. I dragged you from the ocean floor, she reminded him. And saved my life, he finished. His lips curved in a tired, grateful half smile. Hard to be afraid of that. She looked away, suddenly self-conscious. My kind aren't supposed to interfere. Interfere with what? With your fate. He breathed out a soft, disbelieving laugh. If you hadn't interfered, I'd be dead. Yes, she said. That's the problem. His smile faded. Why does it sound like you're the one in danger now, not me? Because she was. Because saving him may cost her everything. Because a bond had formed, she could feel it already, tugging behind her ribs like a hook of light. But she did not say any of that. Instead, she said, you need rest. The storm tore your ship apart. You may be the only survivor. His jaw tightened. Grief shadowed his features. My crew. I'm sorry. He nodded once, small, pained. "Thank you for telling me." Ondine hesitated, then moved a little closer, letting the tide cover her scales. "This cove is hidden. No one sails near it. You're safe for now." "Safe with a mermaid," he murmured, almost smiling. "Safe with a mermaid." If only he knew how dangerous that really was. Hours passed as the sun climbed higher. Ondine brought him driftwood for shade, wove strands of seaweed into something like a rough mat to lie on. He watched her with quiet gratitude, though he was careful not to reach toward her, not to come too close. Humans had strange instincts. They feared the unknown, yet they were drawn to it as well. Eventually, he asked, "Why did you save me?" She looked out at the horizon, where the sea glittered as if nothing terrible ever happened. "Because the storm wanted you," she said. "And I didn't." He was silent for a moment. "That sounds like a story." "It is." "Tell me." She shook her head. "Some stories are meant to stay underwater." He studied her, eyes searching. "And some stories don't end the way they're supposed to." Something in her chest tightened. "What do you mean?" He gestured weakly toward the sea. "If the ocean wanted me, why didn't it take me?" "Because I stole you," she said softly. "And you regret it?" No, the word came too quickly. Too honestly. His expression gentled. "Then I'm glad." Glad. It was such a small word. Yet it shivered through her like a warm current. By late afternoon. He tried again to sit up. This time, he managed, though he swayed slightly. Ondine moved instinctively to steady him but stopped herself halfway. She could not give too much. Not touch, not promise, not comfort. Not anything that might deepen the connection already forming. But he noticed the hesitation. "It's all right," he murmured, lifting a hand palm up. "I won't force anything. Just stay close." She should not. She did. She placed her hand near his, not touching, but close enough that she felt the warmth radiating from his skin. He exhaled shakily. "Thank you, Ondine." "You don't need to thank me anymore," she whispered. He looked at her with something like tenderness. "I think I do." The sun began to set, staining the cove in orange and rose. Finn leaned back against the rocks, exhaustion pulling at his features. Every breath looked easier now, stronger. "You said your kind aren't supposed to save humans," he said quietly. "What happens now? Will the sea punish you?" "It isn't the sea I fear." "Then who?" "My own people. They follow rules written when the world was young. Ancient laws, old magic." He swallowed. "Magic that binds you to me." Ondine went still. "How do you know that?" "When I woke," he said softly, "it felt like something warm was holding onto me. Not my body, something deeper. Like a thread." She stared at him. Humans were not supposed to feel the bond. "You shouldn't sense it," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "I guess I'm stubborn." Ondine shook her head, torn between fear and wonder. "If the elders find out, they will take me back below. They will sever the bond." "And me?" he asked. "You will live," she said. "But you'll forget me." His jaw tightened. "I don't want to forget you." A tremor ran through her heart. "You don't know me." He met her gaze. I know you're the reason I'm breathing. I know your voice pulled me out of dying. I know you stayed with me all day instead of disappearing into the sea." Ondine swallowed hard. "That is enough to risk everything." "Yes," he said without hesitation. "It is." His certainty was too much. Too strong. Too dangerous. So she turned away. But he reached out, not grabbing, not pulling, just brushing his fingertips against the back of her hand. A touch so gentle it felt like a question. She turned back. Because she did not want to. As the sky darkened, she helped him build a small fire using driftwood and a sparkstone he pulled from his pocket. The fire's glow reflected off the scales scattered across her shoulders, making them shimmer in hues of gold and green. He watched the colors, mesmerized. "Your skin, it's beautiful." Heat rose in her cheeks. "It's just scales." "It isn't just anything," he said softly. "You're unlike anything I've ever seen." She stared into the flames. "I'm dangerous." Everyone is dangerous in their own way. Humans think we lure sailors to their deaths. He shrugged slowly. "You lured me into life." Ondine blinked, startled by the tenderness of his words. He cleared his throat. "I'm sorry if that was too much." "It wasn't," she whispered. The fire crackled. The sea sighed. The bond between them hummed like a low, steady note. Night settled over the cove like a velvet curtain. Finn grew tired again, eyelids heavy. Ondine guided him to lie back on the seaweed mat, adjusting the woven strands so they supported him better. He watched her with soft, half-asleep eyes. "You're gentle," he murmured. "I'm cautious," she corrected. "You could be both." She looked away. "Sleep, Finn." He shifted, trying to get comfortable. "Will you stay?" "For a while." His fingers found the edge of the mat, brushing her hand again, not gripping, not demanding. Just letting her know he was there. She left her hand where it was. Eventually, his breathing deepened into sleep. Ondine remained beside him, listening to the tide, the wind, the quiet crackle of the dying fire. And she realized something with a clarity that aches. She did not want him to wake alone. When the moon rose, a song echoed faintly across the waves. A warning. The elders were searching. Her heart pounded. She leaned over Finn, brushing his hair from his forehead. His expression was peaceful, unaware of the danger closing in. "I shouldn't have saved you," she whispered. "But I would do it again." His lips parted slightly, as if responding in sleep. Ondine took a trembling breath. He had to leave the cove. At dawn, when he was strong enough, she would guide him to a path that led inland. If the elders found him, they would break the bond with cruel magic. If they found her with him, no. She could not let that happen. She moved closer, placing her hand lightly on his cheek. "Live," she whispered. "For both of us." A tear slipped down her cheek and fell onto his skin. Her tears were not like human tears, they became pearls when they hit the ground. This one shimmered faintly, rolling from his temple to the sand. He stirred, waking. Ondine. His voice was thick with sleep. She straightened quickly, wiping her face. "Quiet. The elders are near." He pushed himself up shakily. "Your people?" "Yes." Her voice quivered. "If they find us together, What happens? They'll separate us. Forever. His breath caught. No. We can run. You can barely stand. I'll try. I won't let them take you. The fierce conviction in his voice hit her like a wave. But she shook her head. This isn't a fight you can win. He reached for her hand. Then at least don't leave me without saying goodbye. The bond thrummed painfully. She stepped closer, cupping his face with both hands. His skin was warm, real, alive because of her. I won't say goodbye, she whispered. Because I will find you again. His eyes shone. Promise? She pressed her forehead gently to his. A mermaid's vow was sacred. Binding. I promise. The elder's song grew louder. Closer. She pulled away, lifting him carefully to his feet. He clung to her for balance, shoulders trembling with effort. This path, she said, guiding him toward a narrow break in the rocks. It leads into the forest. You'll find a fishing village by dawn. He shook his head desperately. I don't want to leave you. You must. His voice broke. I don't want this to be over. It isn't, she whispered fiercely. Not unless we let it be. He swallowed, nodded once, then pulled her into a trembling embrace. His arms wrapped around her gently, carefully, as though afraid she would shatter. She closed her eyes. A human's arms felt different than any current, any tide. Warm. Solid. Protective. The kind of danger she wanted to choose. She pulled back slowly. You need to go. He hesitated. Then, without thinking, he lifted a hand and pressed a soft, reverent kiss to her forehead. The touch sent a surge of light through the bond, a flare of connection so powerful she nearly gasped. Thank you, he whispers. For my life. For yours. And then he turned and limped toward the shadows of the forest, each step weighted with exhaustion, but determined. She watched until he disappeared. Then, with a final look at the path he took, she dove beneath the waves before the elders reached the cove. The water wrapped around her like an old warning. But her heart pulled toward the land. Toward him. Toward the promise she made, one she intended to keep, no matter the cost. The storm gave her something she never expected. And she was not giving it back.